He's watching you. Yeah, strictly speaking, this is going to be an interesting review when we get around to it. So we're going to actually be giving away one of these and some of the ROG Swift monitors that I know some of you guys are dying to check out because they're, crazy. They got G-Sync and 1 millisecond response time and all that. And I'm actually kind of interested to play around with G-Sync because I haven't exactly been excited about G-Sync like a lot of people have out there. So now that I'm going to be able to test it out with a 970, maybe I'll change my mind. Probably not, but it's probably going to be a good gaming experience anyway, regardless. And it's not that I think G-Sync is bad. I just think that it should be part of the standard and not a proprietary thing for NVIDIA. So that's how I feel right now.
Turns out it was part of the standard way back in the day.
Yeah, way back when, and maybe again sometime soon. All right, let's go ahead and get down to business. There's a very interesting browser add-on that I'm going to recommend to you guys out there. It's Terms of Service Didn't Read is what it's called, and you can go to the website tosdr.org. And the idea here is that when you go online and you download something, the biggest problem out there is that you never read the terms of service. It's the biggest lie on the web. You just go through and you hit OK and just, yes, whatever, I don't care. I just want to install and use the damn thing. It's nobody has time to read that stuff. And even if you did have time to read it, you're not a freaking lawyer, so you're not going to be able to understand exactly what they're saying. So they've tried to break down some of the different services and websites into basic English, and then you can see just how many of your, how much of your privacy is being trampled on and how many of your rights you're giving up. For instance, Google here, you actually give up a lot. They're basically able to rub your face in dog shit. That's what it says here in their terms of service. They can do that. We all use Google services, man. It's just crazy how, what their terms, and what else is kind of crazy? A lot of these things, if you look through them, I think Facebook may be one of them. I'm not sure. No, there we go. No promise to inform you about data requests from the government, so you don't get any assurances there. They track you on different websites, and a lot of these, if you look through them, they're allowed to change anything at any time without even notifying you. So it's like, yeah, you signed the terms of service, and in the terms of service, you agree that they're allowed to change this after you've already signed it without even telling you. So it's pretty cool. I'm kind of ashamed that I've used a lot of these services. Twitter is better than most. It's pretty cool. Plug in again, it's tosdr.org. All right, this whole bendgate thing is getting really out of control. And I'm going to kind of stand back, and I think that it's almost appalling that this is the thing that everyone is freaking out about. Unbox Therapy, Lou, what's up, man? He's got like 60 million hits on that video, and I want to applaud you for making a video that just caters to these idiots who really care about this stuff, who care about a phone bending. It was not a scientific video. You sat there and bent it with your hands. And I'm sure Apple's going to blacklist you forever, but who cares? You got 60 million hits because that's all anybody ever cares about. They don't care about their privacy. They don't care about people getting beheaded in the Middle East. They don't care about the internet sucking in Australia. They don't care about any of that stuff. They just care about a phone bending in freaking skinny jeans. Seriously. So it's completely out of hand. But now Apple has been cutting off publications who talk about bendgate. And there's one German publication in particular. And they actually sent a letter to them saying that we are, just straight away. It's the name of the website is called Computer Build. They just straight away said we're not going to support you anymore. So I think it's interesting that if you go out there and you tell the truth about a product, or you just make a video about a product that tells it bends. Okay, guys, it's made out of aluminum. It's big. It's got a weak spot. It bends. If you say that, Apple is going to blacklist you. That's kind of communist, man. I don't know how to feel about that.
Oh, Lord, Apple. I just don't even... on the one hand, I trust sort of what Consumer Reports did, but I worry that they didn't put the pressure on the exact right spot, because it always bends around the volume control. In all the videos, it always bends around the volume control, and the Consumer Reports thing had it bending, sort of in the middle, and they did their pressure test on that. But... that said, I don't know. You've got this in your pocket. It is sort of large. You got sort of the fulcrum of, the mechanics of being in your pocket. There's sort of a fulcrum there that will apply more pressure. So the jury's still out on this. I don't know how serious this really actually is, because there's not enough coverage of it.
Yeah, and it's like the scientific coverage, like you just mentioned. They did their test directly in the center, but they were actually, measuring, how much pressure it takes to bend it. It takes what was it, like
Which is
100
what
and
we
something
need to be
pounds?
doing if this
Yeah.
is going to be a million thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't just bend the damn thing and be like, oh God, it bends. Okay, well, anything bends. If I grab anything, I'm not going to bend it. I'm going to tear it in half. Like seriously, give me a phone. I will rip any phone in half. You just send me one of your magnesium alloy bodies. I don't even care. I will tear it in half. The 1+1, I bet I could tear this thing in half. In someone's hands, if they're going to be aggressive with it, they can bend it. It's not science. It's just freaking stupidity. Anyway. I still think Lou is awesome for getting 60 million videos just for bending a phone, and everyone freaks out about it because that's what the most important thing in the universe is right now, is an aluminum phone bending. That's the most important thing in the universe. Kind of silly. Let's talk about some stuff that actually is important. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I saw the only other thing that I got is I saw a pretty funny video where apparently a couple 15-year-old kids thought it'd be funny to go to an Apple store to ask, will the phone bend? And when they said no, we're like, no, look, we can totally bend it. And it's like, you bent a display model. It didn't belong to you. Then they were like, well, perhaps we shouldn't have done that. It's like, you think, dumbass?
Yeah, that's fun, though. All right, let's take a look at Elon Musk. He's about to give us all the D. There it is.
Oops, should I not have tweeted that?
You don't know what that means. People on the internet will get offended. Oh my God,
like
people are going to get offended.
His follow-up tweet was like, oh, I forgot this was the internet.
Yeah, you shouldn't have named it the D, dude. Anyway, so Elon Musk, he's probably having fun with it too. He's going to be unveiling the D, and I'm imagining it's a car here because, as you can see on the advertisement, we just went abroad for a moment. It's a garage with a D going up, and inside there's a car. So it's going to be some sort of a car. I'm not sure what kind of a car it's going to be. Some people are speculating that it might be a car with two engines, maybe a gas engine for the rear wheel drive and then an electric motor for the front. And that way it's all-wheel drive and it can go a long time. But that would be interesting, but I don't know. I don't really have any speculation right now.
I think it's going to be an all-wheel drive electric.
All-wheel drive, all electric, like with two electric motors,
all
or
electric. There is no way that they're going to put a gas engine in there. That's just crazy.
That's not what BMW just did that right here. They've got their 2015 i8, and Stream Tech gave it their editor's choice. Said it was like one of the best cars out there in the world. It's kind of an interesting car because it's $136,000. It's got two motors in it, an electric motor and a gas motor, and it's all-wheel drive. And it gives you that premium, whatever sports luxury driving experience. And it's at a price point right now. The only thing really competing with this is the Porsche 918, which is $845,000. So they said they liked it even better than that car. So that's pretty interesting. And it's at a price point where they're going to sell probably tens of thousands of these. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get one. It's like I can't even afford it, but I don't think I'm going to get it.
But it's like,
Let's talk about phone encryption and the FBI. We talked about this just briefly last week. But apparently, Google has said some of their future versions of Android are going to be encrypted, and they're not going to be able to unlock it. So now we've got iPhones with encryption that, with iOS 10, Apple cannot unlock that. Even with a warrant, Apple doesn't have the ability to unlock that. They have to go directly to the user, where they should be going in the first place. And then, of course, we had Comey, the director of the FBI, basically likening this to lawlessness. And he's saying crazy things like, we have these companies creating technology to enable criminals. It's like enabling lawlessness. So that's going on. But I want to go back in time just a little bit here. I believe it was 2011. Let's look at this website here. In 2011, the FBI encouraged regular people to encrypt their phones so that they could avoid getting hacked. There's like, in order to avoid hackers, please encrypt your phones. So, well, which is it? It's kind of ridiculous.
It turns out we can't spy on everything anymore. And see, the really irritating thing about this is they always bring out this for the children argument. And be that as it may, we're not even going to talk about the merits of that. And it's kind of a dumb argument, but let's not even talk about the merits of that. There is nothing that stops them from doing good old-fashioned police work. I mean, just because we've got mobile and digital phones doesn't mean that good old-fashioned police work has magically stopped working. I mean, phones are a relatively new invention. What do we do before phones? It turns out that you could still do the good old-fashioned surveillance. You can, survey the person. If you really wanted to, you could totally, get a warrant and put a camera on somebody and see their PIN, like look over their shoulder when they type it in or ever how you want to deal with that, and get their password. But the level of effort there is higher, and that's what they want to avoid. And that's why you should be freaking out, because it's like, wait a minute, they want to, just collect all the data. And that's the other thing that came out this week. There's an executive order from Obama, a constitutional law professor that ought to know better, that says that that redefines the word collection to mean the collection and examination of data. And if you don't examine it, it's not actually collected. Like that, they literally redefine that with an executive order. And it's like, well, any reasonable person would say that collection means you collected the data. And they're saying, no, we define collection as to collect and to examine. And it's like, well, what if I define it as you guys are dumbasses? I mean, does that, it's just silly.
So hang on a minute here. So let's say that I have a very severe hoarding complex, and I'm just hoarding all kinds of things, but I always do it blindfolded. I've got a separate room in my house where I just stuff everything, but every time I go in there, I do it blindfolded. So therefore, I'm not actually hoarding anything, right? I'm not looking at it. I'm not actually hoarding it.
I would like to see the blind kleptomaniac shoplifter, where it's like, well, he didn't really steal those things from Walmart. He was blind. That's the logic here. I mean, it's like
the coffee almost came out of my nose.
The sad thing is that the American people are apparently that stupid, and that makes me sad.
We had one thing that I cut out of here, but it was from the EFF, and they put together a little video, and I'll leave the link in there, guys. But I didn't want the episode to get too long. But they basically put together a compilation of several different local law enforcement agencies saying, "Hey, install this software for the children," and it allows them to spy on your PC. But they're doing it for the children because it looks for certain keywords that sexual predators and that sort of thing may use. And you can never argue with that. You can never argue with the whole sexual predator thing. They used it in the UK in order to make this whitelist, blacklist BS stuff. They do it for the children. We need this because sexual predators are going to eat them. Or whatever, they're cut them up into steak and eat them. You can't argue with that. That's like, if you argue with that you're the most heinous person on the planet. So screw all of you guys out there for invoking this whole child argument. It's a red herring.
Will nobody think of the children?
Tell you what, I'm going to come kick your ass, but I'm going to do it for the children. Now you can't argue with me. Yeah,
if I don't kick your ass, it will harm our children. But the real question is our children learning?
I think they done learned all they need. They used to could learn, but they can't these days. They can't
no more.
Oh God.
KAINT.
You speak in Kentucky?
I reckon.
Oh God! All right, well, biscuits and mustard and all that. Let's move along. Let's take a look at Android.
With biscuit wheels.
Oh God, what's happened? Let's talk about Android One for about 20 seconds. I don't know if I can do this or not, but Android has a new device coming out. It's $100. Well, they've got several different devices coming out, but the first ones are going to be $100. They're made for markets where people are not connected already, which there's a few billion people, and they're going for the next few billion people with these devices. What's interesting, their Android One operating system is so, I guess it's so fast and it's so streamlined that people are getting a really snappy experience even on these $100 devices. So the first device coming out here, it's the Micromax Canvas A1. It does have a quad core. It's got a decent amount of RAM, 1700 milliamp hour battery. Even has an SD card slot. The main thing that the main corner they really cut, it's got a gigabyte of memory, but the main corner they cut, I believe, was that it only has 2 or 3 gigabytes, 2.27 gigabytes of available internal flash. But so you're going to have a SD card. and it only has a 480 by 854 screen. Not the worst, but as long as it's snappy and it gets people online, it could be a pretty cool thing. The one thing I really wanted to talk about here, maybe we could go back and forth on this for just 1 minute. Google is really locking down the platform right now, and they're going to control pretty much the entire experience. It's going to be a vanilla Google experience on all these devices. That's what they're doing with Android One. Now, I like that because for me, what's happened with a lot of the carriers in the USA is they've tried to customize things, but they've tried to do it in a way that locks you into their own little walled garden, or they've tried to install a bunch of bloatware that you don't really need. At the same time, I'm all for one's ability to customize, and one thing I like about Android, it's based upon Linux, and it's having a totally unified experience is not really in the spirit of Linux, but it seems like it was being abused. I don't know. It's kind of I want to be able to mess with it. Maybe if I can install like Cyanogen or ICE or whatever, ICE, is that what they call it? Another ROM, maybe I'd like it, but I don't know. I've kind of torn both ways. If Google doesn't have control, the terrible carriers are going to load it with bloatware, but at the same time, it's going to be a very vanilla experience. I don't know. I guess you can customize it after you get it, but I don't know.
I'd really like to see the sort of under the hood of how they did it, because right now in the regular Android world, Google's making waves because they're switching from Dalvik to Art. That's their runtime environment. Dalvik was what they came up with on the original Android to do the acceleration, and they're switching to Art, which has even better acceleration. Even though they're using Java, they're getting much better performance out of using the Dalvik sort of caching infrastructure, and by switching from Dalvik to Art, there's that much more of an improvement. And this is probably the first device that really uses that, and that's probably how they're getting away with the RAM situation and that sort of thing. But that's really good because it also means Google knows their market. I mean, they're absolutely taking over the universe in emerging markets where people don't have $500 to spend on a phone, and that they're able to deliver a compelling experience on hardware is a testament to the engineering capabilities of it. And so when we actually run the same software on a $500 phone, the question for me is, will the experience be that much more dramatically improved? Because if I could have a phone that I could, cut down bare minimum features, but it runs like greased lightning, that would be appealing to me.
All right, speaking of interesting technology that has to do with phones, let's go over to Hong Kong right now. Of course, unless you've been living under a rock, that right now in Hong Kong there is everyone is taken to the streets and they're campaigning for real democracy in China. So, I mean, when I was in Hong Kong, it felt slightly separate compared to China. I mean, they had more freedoms, it felt like, in Hong Kong. They don't speak Mandarin. They speak Cantonese in most places in Hong Kong. So it just had a totally different feel to it. But at the same time, it still is part of China. And the youth have taken to the streets. Well, not the youth. Everyone's taken to the streets. Hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets. And they're sort of... they're all worried that their devices are going to be censored or turned off, and their chat programs and Facebook and that sort of thing are going to be turned off. So they've turned to using FireChat. This is been going on for about a week or so. I guess this story broke over a week ago, but FireChat is interesting because it takes us in a direction that we've been talking about for a long time, but I haven't really seen anything really do it yet. But FireChat allows you to connect to all the devices around you, and it creates sort of a mesh net, and you can chat with people who are nearby. You can chat with through the mesh net. If someone else is connected, you can chat with them. But I think it's going to be really, really, really handy in places like this. But I think something like this could also be sort of a gateway drug to an actual mesh net, which could be really interesting. That would really mess with a lot of the powers that be. If you're not reliant upon a tower somewhere and you're just, sharing information through an actual mesh net, well, you're bypassing everything, and you're also bypassing their ability to censor things. So that could be a pretty interesting step toward that.
The contrast here, though, is that there are opposite ends of the spectrum. With a mesh network, you've got distribution, but you don't have privacy. When you are literally sharing a message with your neighbor. It doesn't always have to be that way, but with FireChat and with pretty much all of the mesh technologies out there right now, it adds too much overhead to have a ton of encryption or a ton of device-to-device security. There's too much opportunity for man-in-the-middle attacks and other sort of classical security architecture vulnerabilities. But in like with the situation in Hong Kong, where there are riots going on where the people of Hong Kong are saying, "Oh, we need a real democracy." It's very peaceful, from what I understand. There are communication blackouts, and they're not able to communicate with one another, or there's not enough, cell towers in the area, or for whatever reason, they don't have Wi-Fi or any other internet coverage. But this is a way for them to share messages within in that physical space or in that physical area, and that's a really good thing. That is probably going to factor in more in the human experience all over the world. So it's good to see those kind of technologies developing. But we've got to face facts that this technology is very much in its infancy, and it's interesting to see not only how the people react to having these kind of tools available, but also the state, because the state actors have a disinterest in this technology working well, and it seems to actually be working pretty well in Hong Kong. So it's transformative technology in that regard.
I don't know. I'm all for transformative technology. And we'll keep an eye on it and see what goes on. All right, up next, Reddit. They were $50 million, and the list of people who have invested in this is pretty interesting. We've got Snoop Dogg was one of the big investors, so I think it's interesting to see how he's a huge fan of Reddit. He's a Redditor. You see him on there every now and then. I don't see him on there. I'm not sure what subreddits he hangs out in, but now we've got him. I've got a long list of people who've also put money into this. You guys can look at them right here. Some of the guys from Y Combinator, I guess one of the most interesting things to come out of all this with the investments, they want to start giving back to the community. And they're not going to do so based upon karma, because you can kind of game for karma, and it wouldn't be fair to give to people who have high karma, because a lot of them just post pictures of their butt all day and makes their karma go through the roof, because that's why. So they're looking for a way to measure how they should give, or how much they should give to each community member. And what are they going to give? Are they going to give them money? Are they going to give them shares? Well, they've said they're going to come up with some sort of a cryptocurrency that's Reddit based, and they're going to start giving people bits of that. Could be interesting. They're also going to use the money to improve moderation tools and that sort of thing. I don't know I don't really have any ideas of what you would do with Reddit. It just does its thing, it's
It's a time black hole that eats your soul, and you will never, ever, ever see the light of day again once you get sucked in.
Oh, man. Snoop D-O-double-G now owns a little bit of REDDIT. Let's move on. I can't believe this finally happened. I thought this... I just assumed that this was already a thing, but the UK finally legalizes CD ripping and cloud backup. So now you're finally able to take a DVD that you purchased and make a copy or a backup of that for your own personal use. You weren't allowed to copy MP3s before. Oh no, is there a button here?
Yeah,
it's gonna get lots of karma if there's a
audience. There's always a but. The legal eagles in the audience are already freaking out and saying that this let you make personal backups, but it doesn't allow you to circumvent technical measures like DRM.
Oh, good Jesus.
Technically, with the DVD, it's like, I guess if you did a bit-for-bit copy of the DVD with the encryption, that might be okay. But if you rip the DVD and get rid of the encryption, that might not be okay. So this law is not perfect. But it's better than what we have in the U.S.
It's sad, man. The sharing culture, that's a thing now, guys. So
well, this explicitly does not make it okay to share either. This is only if you make a copy of a CD and you give it to your friend, that's totally like this reaffirms that's set your pants on fire, insanely bad. You're going to Gitmo for 5 years.
Well, that's broken. You know what else is broken? The TV model is broken. It's the whole TV model, the way it works right now, is the networks force all the smaller affiliates and not the ISPs, but the service providers. They force them to pay a lot of money to carry them. And just do an example like ESPN. So ESPN, if a small cable company wants to carry ESPN, ESPN's going to say yeah, you can carry us. There's this huge fee. And on top of that huge fee to have ESPN for your subscribers, you're also going to have ESPN3, ESPN Equestrian, is that even a thing? And ESPN Water Polo Channel. And you're going to have to pay for those. But if you don't pay for those, you're not going to get ESPN. So they have to deal with all that kind of stuff. And the problem is a lot of people, they don't really care about the ESPN equestrian channel. They don't want it. The service providers don't want it. So why even do it? And that's exactly what's going on right now. Everyone's cutting the cord, and one company in particular, BTC Broadband, they decided that they're just completely doing away with cable, and they're only giving internet to their customers, and they're going to focus on making that as good as they can make it. And I think that's really cool. I mean, of course, this is a tiny company compared to Comcast and Time Warner and all these other companies, but when you look at their models, they're always pushing TV packages, and everything's bundled. And if you get internet, well, you can't have the fastest internet unless you go with the premium cable bundle with HBO, and then that unlocks the top tier. That's what happened when I was dealing with Comcast. In order to get the top tier, which was like 100 megabits per second, I had to also get this television package that I don't even give a shit about. I don't even have a television. I don't care. I don't watch television. What do I watch? I got other stuff to do, and I've got the graphics cards to play video games. So why would I even want to watch some stupid TV show? But they force you to get it if you're going to get. So you have to settle for 50 megabits a second. Oh, sorry, without the bundle package, 50 megabits a second is all you can have. Even though they can physically do it, they just won't do it. And that's the kind of nonsense that we need to get away from. And I mean, that kind of stuff should be, what's the word? Not antitrust. What would the word be there? They're abusing their customer base.
It's anti-competitive, but it's there is something in federal law for the bundling of products, forcing somebody to buy something else, kind of thing. So
yeah, I mean, they always do it, but. Let me know out there which of you in the audience has already cut the cord. Does anybody out there care about television at all? Does anyone? And if you could get a la carte, channels through streaming or something like that, would you rather do that? Is there anybody out there who cares about television anymore? Is it still relevant? I know there's a few TV shows like the HBO stuff and the stuff on AMC or whatever that people watch, but I guess... But is that why you watch TV? Is that why you have 70 other channels just so you can watch that one show? You can watch Game of Thrones or whatever once a week, or whatever it is. Walking Dead.
That's the Insidious. Let me lay out the cable TV model for you. You have a few shows that people actually want to watch, and then you have the other channels that are run by the cable industry executives like nieces and cousins and things. And so, ESPN 8, the Ocho, is actually owned by like Rupert Murdoch's second cousin or third cousin or something like that. And so he's like, well, if we bundle HBO with ESPN 8, the Ocho, my cousin can make a whole bunch of money. So let's do that. And that's how that happens.
Well, it's genius when you put it that way. All right.
That's capitalism. What are you going to do? Switch cable companies? Oh, you can't. Oh.
We don't have the little flaps on our shirt, or else we would,
Ew.
I want you to think about that when you go to sleep tonight. All right. Let's take a look at the Mozilla Matchstick. It's a device that's going to rival sort of the Google Chromecast. It plugs into your HDMI port and it does wireless. I'm over my head again here because this has to do with television, but the problem with Chromecast is they said it didn't do as much as they wanted it to. So the idea here is going to run the Fire OS, or the Firefox OS, and it's still on the Kickstarter, but they'll have this out, and it's going to allow you to stream certain channels here, which is just what we were just talking about, and it looks like there's a small selection of channels already available. It's unlike getting regular cable subscription. You just kind of pick a few channels and do your thing. And I have no idea what else it's going to do. It looks like it's going to have some other functionality, and it looks like it's also going to be very expandable. So they're hoping that it has more than Chromecast, or that it's a more open platform than Chromecast. And being Firefox, it may actually, have more to offer as far as openness compared to Chromecast. Maybe we could have our own little channel on there, but I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up. Dude on a motorcycle. There's a dude on a motorcycle. He's having a ball.
No.
Anyway, I really don't have too many opinions on things that have to do with televisions, and sorry guys, but it looks neat, I guess.
Just letting you know that Mozilla is doing the Apple TV / Chromecast thing, and it might be more developer friendly since it's on Kickstarter. So,
We got some good news this week, the good news actually involves Tom Wheeler and Verizon. Something's wrong here. This can't be right. But sure enough, Verizon has decided they won't be throttling their 4G users. They had come up with a plan for all the unlimited packages. They were saying that some people, we gave them unlimited, and they're actually using it. We can't have that. So they were going to go in and throttle them during peak times of days to improve the performance for other people. And Tom Wheeler looked at this and he was like, wait a minute, you're giving them unlimited and then you're not giving them unlimited. Hold on a minute. And now they're actually backing down and they're saying that they're not going to throttle 4G users. That's pretty interesting. I can't believe that's actually happening.
It comes at a time when the U.S. wireless industry is experiencing a jump start in competition. The top three major carriers, Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint, have doubled the amount of data included with their shared plans for a limited time, and T-Mobile is still aggressively trying to recruit new customers through its Uncarrier initiative, and it's also buying out people on contracts. At least that's as reported by The Verge. But yeah, so it's like, oh, there's competition. Oh, no, we can't just arbitrarily do what we want. Oh, say it ain't so.
Well, we have to actually compete. When I actually when I called T-Mobile and I was going to switch over from who did I have Sprint, they were willing to buy out my contract, but they wanted to buy my device or something. They wanted me to send in my device, but my device was too shitty, so they were like, oh, never mind, we're not going to deal with you anymore. So I had to just wait till my contract expired, and then they were interested. I think that's how it went, something like that. They wanted a device to be exchanged or me to hand over my device or something like that. And I didn't have anything good that they were like, that's kind of crappy. We can get it for cheaper on eBay, you know. Oh, sorry, kid. That kind of thing. All right. Now that we're talking about all this, let's just one more article here. Comcast, they're calling the critics from the whole merger business. They're calling them extortionists. Really? Comcast, you guys are calling somebody an extortionist? If you guys go through here,
they've been wanting. Day?
Yeah, it must be opposite day. They've put together a 300-page, and there's a redacted PDF you guys can get your hands on. 300-page, rebuttal to critics for the proposed merger. And it's funny. Last week we were like, AT&T is screaming that, hey, if Comcast and Time Warner get together, we're going to have to buy DirecTV so that we can compete. And now Comcast is going, well, hey, if AT&T and DirecTV get together, we're going to have to buy Time Warner so that we can compete. So we got the same thing going on there. But yeah, it's
if by extortion you mean that your customers would like for you to deliver a small fraction of the bandwidth that you have sold them, then yes, I suppose that definition of extortion is accurate.
They're asking for 1/10 of what we promised them. That's extortion. Yeah, Comcast executives, go sit on a spiny thing, porcupine. What should they sit on? One of those round cactus. I couldn't think of the word. Go sit on a fat cacti.
Pointy things. No. See,
what are the pointy things?
They can't even. I mean, Netflix is 5 megabit. They can't deliver a 5 megabit thing without setting up some sort of backroom shady crazy deal with Netflix to ensure that their packets make it there okay. That's totally, we've said it before, that's totally a mobster thing. 5 megabits is nothing. And Netflix video streaming, this deal was so plainly about video. We already have laws that make this illegal. Whether or not, in the letter of the law, in the spirit of the law, we've talked about rulings from the Supreme Court, like the Arrow ruling. And it was like, well, the law, technically according to the letter of the law, you are totally legal. But with the spirit of the law, it's totally illegal. All right, Supreme Court, if you're going to rule that way, the hammer of Thor should come down on Comcast at this point. Because they may be operating in the letter of the law, but they are operating so anti-competitively and so shystery that, really, the hammer of Thor could just go to town here for months and not get everything.
I don't even think that they're operating within the letter of the law, because a lot of things that they're doing are clearly anti-competitive behavior, monopolistic behavior, and stuff that, the Trade Commission has laws against. So, I don't know.
That may be true. That's likely to be true. But even if you give them the benefit of the doubt and you say that they are operating within the letter of the law exactly to the letter of the law, we already have the other Supreme Court cases, like the Arrow case that we talked about, which is in the cable, which is in the television and media distribution industry. So it's got to be related. It's like these people don't have brain one. It's just disturbing.
I think that they have so much money that doesn't excite them anymore. I think the only thing that excites them is the tears of their customers. And they wake up in the morning and they have like a dull and listless breakfast until they know that one of their customers has sobbed. And then they get this tingling in their chest and their loins quicken. I don't know.
No, it's exactly that, and you have no idea. The Lewis Black. See, there was a cable company before the cable companies
Adelphia
we talked about called Adelphia. Yes, exactly. Lewis Black.
I actually had Adelphia in Florida. I had them when I was down there. They were like the Comcast of Florida, but they were even worse because
the Lewis Black comedy skit about that is just comedy gold. It's like the executives at Adelphia basically had a pissing contest to see who could waste the most money, and one of them got like a $30,000 umbrella stand, and Lewis Black was like, "My parents have a $30,000 umbrella stand. It's called their bathtub." It's just crazy. It's like they don't even drive a car that costs $30,000.
All right, so thanks you guys for watching. Everyone, there's cool stuff in the store, by the way. Let me just look at the store before we leave, because there's lots of pants here. Go and buy some pants. And after you get was there new stuff in here?
I need to list well, I don't know if anybody interested. Perhaps you can let me know on the Twitter if I've got to sell. I want to sell my Canon 7D and about 4 or 5 lenses ranging from crappy to okay. On as like a package deal on Epic Pants, maybe.
Yeah, we could totally put that up here.
Interested in that, maybe.
One of a kind things. I mean, if you guys even interested in one of a kind things,
yeah.
This thing is so comfortable.
It's Canon 7D collector's item. I'll sign it if you want.
and sign it in solder.
That would be hard. Might be able to do that.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys in the next episode.